The father led his son out of a luxury limousine and pointed to a farm in the distance. "This is how poor people live," he said. But the boy saw no poverty, only wide-open fields and a sun-drenched wooden house. Around a humble wooden table, the family shared a simple meal. The farm children laughed and told stories, and the rich boy watched, realizing that true wealth is not food, but the joy of sharing. The boy watched as 4 happy dogs ran around the meadow, chasing each other. His own dear, well-groomed dog sat nearby, not understanding what it meant to run free. "We have only one dog and they have a whole pack," he thought. He remembered their luxurious swimming pool, surrounded by stone tiles. But when he saw the endless stream of pure spring running through the farm, he realized water does not have to be limited to be valuable. The garden of their mansion was lit by expensive lanterns. But when he raised his head, he saw millions of stars shining above the farm. The light that cannot be bought was the most beautiful. At the supermarket, they paid with a card for food without knowing where it came from. But here on the farm, he saw how the family lovingly tended their crops. They didn't just eat food, they created it. The huge walls of their mansion protected them from the outside world. But in the village, people had no fences because they were protected by friends, not stone and iron. The son looked at the horizon, where the fields met the sky. It seemed to him that he was seeing infinity for the first time. Are we rich? He suddenly asked himself, or the opposite? At a long table covered with an old tablecloth sat farmers and guests. They ate, talked, laughed. It was not just food, it was warmth that no expensive dish could replace. In his house, there was a huge mahogany table where no one gathered. Here on the farm, people ate outside under the open sky, next to each other. And suddenly, this old, unsightly table seemed much more valuable to him. He looked at his hands, soft, clean, without a scratch. Then he looked at the farmer's hands, rough, calloused. But these hands could create life. What was more valuable? They lived among glass skyscrapers, where every day passed in a hurry. But here in the village, time flowed differently. He looked at the endless fields and understood that space can be measured not only by height, but also by freedom. The father asked him the same question. "Well, have you understood how poor people live?" But this time the son did not know what to answer, because he was no longer sure who was really poor here. The sun was setting below the horizon. The farm children ran barefoot across the grass, their laughter filling the air. The boy watched them from afar and felt something change within him. His room was filled with expensive toys that he rarely played with, and the farmer's child proudly held in his hands a wooden soldier carved by his father. And suddenly, this little soldier seemed to him the most valuable thing in the world. The boy looked up at his father and said quietly, "I've realized how poor we really are." The father stood there in amazement. He had brought his son to the farm to show him other people's poverty, but instead the boy had seen their own. Poverty isn't about how much money you have, it's about how you perceive the world. Sometimes the richest people are the ones who have nothing extra, but have everything they need to be happy.